In my 20s and 30s, I wanted to be a mother to heal those childhood wounds, and therapy and book reading took that desire away. But also like medical issues, having
Right.
to have like fibroid issues, having to have a hysterectomy. You are younger than me, and you are resolute. Ain't no kids for me.
No kids. It's crazy because hearing you talk about seeing that loving family from your friend's household, I grew up in a single parent household and it seemed just like struggle. Honestly, my mom worked multiple jobs to provide. I'm the oldest of three. We were a house full of girls. And honestly, knowing how hard my mom worked, it just seemed like, dang, I actually want to live for myself. I want to be able to do the things I want to do. I remember even the amount of rooms we had, right, in our house had to be more because she had to provide for us. Buying the food, the types of cars she drove, I really felt like she lived a life for us and she didn't live a life for herself. And so as soon as I could get out the house, I got out the house. And maybe it's a bit of selfishness. I wanted to be able to do all the things I wanted to do without the care of someone else first.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think that that's kind of still where I am. I feel like my businesses can be my kids. That's my legacy. But I really am 10 toes down that kids are not for me and won't ever be. And that's definitely the conversation now in dating as well.
Yeah, I bet.
Ugh.
But because at 33, can you imagine when you're older and when you start having health issues, when, you're not dating as
I'm
much?
going to pay for a nurse, for a doctor. I don't know if I would actually think that, and I know your kids are supposed to be who takes care of you when you get older, right? To me, you're still going to hire someone to help take care of me, right? Again, I still feel like I've always had to provide and fend for myself. Even I started working at 14 years old, was helping my mom with my sisters. So I've always felt like I got me. I don't know if I, thought that my kids would have to have me, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I completely understand that. Mrs. Tate, I'm struck by you've known your entire life that you wanted to be a mother. So I hear Mandi's point because I remember that struggle too, girl. My mother, my mother juggled the struggle. So shout out to her for loving me so much to do that. With you, what was the most challenging part of motherhood? Because that's a real thing with, finances, and not always waking up being enthusiastic about mothering these two girls. What was the most challenging part for you?
I think I would basically say all aspects of motherhood were challenging to me because being so very young, even my firstborn, it's like the idea of bathing her when we came home from the hospital. I never did anything like that. And I didn't have a mother there to help me. I was in Washington, D.C., my husband and I, and now I had this baby. So everything was a challenge. The hospital sent a woman over just to go through the, basic things and so forth and so on. But I'm so highly motivated. And I always knew before I had my daughter, the first time I felt her move in my body, I said, I know what my purpose in life is. Wow. I said, I have to be the best person I possibly can because I'm responsible for raising another human being. It hit me like a ton of bricks. So to me, it's always been trying to learn because you don't have a lot of role models in terms of your parents say, do what I say, not what I do,
right, exactly.
and that kind of thing. And I said, that doesn't really work. So a lot of decisions I had to make was based on logic because I tend to be a very logical person. And I think that's what led me to being a computer programmer way back in the 60s.
Yeah.
But that's when my daughter came here, that was it for me. It's so much love and responsibility at the same time. So they kind of balance each other.
Right.
You're not afraid. You're just afraid of doing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
But even with a child, there's no such thing as the wrong thing if you love them because you're loving them and you just love them. And you get so much back in return.
I hear that so much. I mean, that's the biological part of it. That as soon as you
Yes.
felt your daughter move, this
Yes.
is a sensitive thing. Don't hate me at home, okay? I'm saying something that's sensitive. But I had a friend miscarry very early on in her pregnancy, and she's a close friend, so I felt comfortable asking her this question because it hit her hard. She was really sad, and she may have been like in the first 2 months, and I asked her. With all love and respect and
Yeah.
kindness that we have as Black women in our sisterhood, why do you think this struck you so hard? Because, you weren't that far along. And she said something to me that really changed my perspective. She said, Tiffany, once you feel life inside you,
Yeah.
you will never want to part with it. So I was struck by what you said, that you felt it immediately. It was biological, something you could even control. It was something you felt inside.
Yes, when the first time she moved, because other than that, I mean, I always want to have a happy family and a loving family. But I also, when I went to college, I love French. I took French in high school. I took French in college. And I said, when I get out of college, I think I'm going to go to France and live for about 6 months. So I really get this language down pat. It never happened. Of course, later in my life, I still went to Alliance Francaise in Manhattan to keep up with it, and then began to travel when my daughters got older and stuff. But so you do have other things that you want to do. But back then, abortion was not an option for me because it wasn't even legal.
So I was actually going to
just
bring up that. So
exactly. So it's a different situation.
Yeah.
You
to
said
me.
though, like how you like the connection of it. That was not my experience. So I got an abortion when I was 16 years old.
Mhm.
And my mom, before having me, also had multiple abortions. And so this was actually a conversation that we had to have because I did have the ultrasound. I was able to look and see that there was life inside of me.
Yes.
And what's crazy is there was zero connection.
Wow.
I was 16 years old. I was ready to be on the volleyball team. My mom let me know how she felt after the abortions that she had. And she was like, I want you to know this is going to be a decision that you will live with for the rest of your life. And when I tell you, I didn't feel a thing. It's nothing I regret. It was a moment in time. I don't even think I go back to that moment. And it's like, what if? I wish I would have, woulda, shoulda. I know that abortions normally come with so much regret. I had none. And that was actually a thing. My mom sat me. We looked at the ultrasound together, and she asked me my feelings and if there was any regret, and there was none. So it's so interesting to hear the connection that mothers do have with their excitement, especially, and I don't want to, trigger anyone listening either, because I know there's so many people that wish they had that experience. And I did. I went forward with the abortion and have never looked back. Haven't had another one since. Knock on wood somewhere. But I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But at that moment, no, there actually was no excitement or connection that I felt in that moment of being pregnant.
Well,
so it's interesting.
Thank you for sharing that story. And I do just want to say people have a lot of opinions about abortions. Please stay out of our uterus.
Listen, I'm
not your
pro-choice.
place.
I'm pro-choice all day.
Exactly.
Okay?
However you feel about it. If you don't want an abortion, don't have one.
I'm also pro-choice.
That's it's so interesting though, knowing that it wasn't even legal. It was never an option.
Yeah. It was never an option.
Wow.
Well, I never had an abortion in life. I never have been pregnant, so I don't know what that feels like. But I do remember with my fibroids issue, I literally told the doctor, we can do this today. Like I'm ready. And she made me wait 2 weeks. She said, no, I want you to talk to everybody, who's a mother. I did. And like you, I just didn't feel like I was in my 40s, and it was like that time had passed. But hearing you say that you have no regrets, I do wonder if you change your mind, and we know that you're saying you will never, but if you change your mind, I wonder, will it be different for you?
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think it's also interesting, like just the pressures and the way people constantly ask me again, right? They'll be like, oh, how old are you? Oh, you'll change your mind.
Yeah.
If you go to a doctor's office as well and say, hey, I want my tubes tied. Hey, I want a certain, birth control. They will literally be like, but are you sure?